the Department of Justice have arrested 2 Chinese Americans for setting up and operating a secret Chinese police station in New York City. This is something that I have been reporting on for months. It's good to see the DOJ finally take some action. China's foreign ministry is still pushing back, claiming, quote, China maintains a policy of non-interference in other countries, and these alleged police stations do not exist. You can say that they do not exist, but they were just arrested because they exist. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman, member of the House Armed Services, Foreign Affairs, and Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, former Green Beret himself. Michael Waltz is here. Congressman, it's great to see you. You and I have discussed these police stations. What's your take? DOJ finally makes a move.
Yeah, finally making a move, Maria. I mean, an entire floor of a nondescript office building hosting Chinese national police, hunting down dissidents, and whose only crime, Maria, being for pro-democracy and calling out the dictatorial regime for what it is. But, you know, I think folks need to understand how these people are harassed, intimidated, in some cases even conducting rendition and sending them back to Beijing, and even harassing their family back into Beijing and back in China to force them under their thumb. Just as Hong Kong was a harbinger of what China plans to do in the Chinese Communist Party with the rest of the world who dares to disagree with it, here we have police stations all over the world, right here in the United States. And my question is, Maria, what the heck is Biden going to do about it? I mean, we have violation after violation of our sovereignty, and you're going to see John Kerry on the next plane over saying, Mother, may I, please don't build so many coal-fired power plants.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. The infiltration into America has been so significant. And the CCP has been able to infiltrate all of these so important areas of the economy, from Hollywood to, to corporate America. The list is long, and now police stations. I want to get your take on what the broader goal is, because, I mean, police station in New York City. You've got the surveillance balloon traversing America for a week. Biden did nothing about that. You've got the number of Chinese nationals coming at the southern border and getting apprehended up 900% year over year. They don't have to use that southern border to get into America. They've already abused the visa process. We know that as well. So what's the goal here?
Right.
And do you think China and the CCP is putting people in place in America should there be conflict later on? What is going on?
Yeah, well, I think it's twofold, Maria. One is that they want the message out loud and clear to Chinese dissidents. And these are Chinese Americans, oftentimes, by the way, not just Chinese nationals that have escaped, that you don't dare. You do not dare oppose the regime, that the long arm of the Chinese Communist Party will hunt you down and will find you. Because how does the Communist Party rule? They rule by fear. That's one. But then number two, yes, we are infiltrated in all aspects of U.S. society, from land, food supply, academia, Hollywood, Wall Street, corporate America, you name it, and that's not xenophobic, as the left likes to constantly throw out. That is by design through the United Front Work Department of the Chinese Communist Party to influence all aspects of our society in their march to be the global superpower under President Xi. I mean, that's it, and he even states it. We need to listen to these dictators when they tell us what they're doing.
Well, he states it often. He also states the fact that anybody who gets involved in his reunification plan with Taiwan will get their heads busted to dust. He actually said that, heads busted to dust. Taiwan is now set to buy up to 400 land-launched Harpoon missiles from the United States, according to Bloomberg. The Pentagon announced the $1.7 billion contract earlier this month without mentioning the buyer, saying that the production of the anti-ship missiles is expected to be completed by March of 2029. But Congressman, we're still waiting on all of those weapons that were paid for and approved and have still not gotten to Taiwan. I spoke with Michael McCall on Sunday about that, and he said he's pushing now to get a Starlink program to Taiwan, which, of course, is reconnaissance, and that would give Taiwan eyes and ears on the ground. What's your take in terms of China's plans for Taiwan?
Well, again, Chairman Xi said to the 20th Party Congress two things. One, he's not passing the Taiwan issue off to the next generation. That means he's doing it on his watch. He's 70 years old, so do the math. And number two, military force is absolutely on the table. But to your point about the anti-ship missiles, Maria, we have got to bust through the bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. Chairman McCall and that committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee that I'm on, and I was with him on his recent trip, approved the sale of those missiles 2.5 years ago. So why is it taking so long to get onto contract and to get them delivered? There should be no higher priority than to getting those missiles to Taiwan, because every time Xi looks across the strait and says, we're ready, we're going to take it by force, we want him saying, not yet. Taiwan is too well armed. The United States is too prepared. And then the other piece, Maria, is the political will of our allies. One of the things that jumped out at us in this trip is that whether it's the Philippines, even the Japanese, the South Koreans, and others, they're saying, what will you do in the case of a conflict, United States? Don't ask us what we will do when you haven't determined. And right now, we're all over the place with this policy of strategic ambiguity. I firmly believe we need to go to a policy of strategic clarity and one to deterrence, and then communicate that clearly as a leader of the Western world to our allies to get them on board.
When would you expect China to invade Taiwan or blockade it? Is that what you're expecting, or is it more likely that they try to infiltrate the Taiwanese election in January of next year, or both?
Yeah, I think, they would prefer to do it by non-military means. They would prefer to do it through coercion, through economic coercion, diplomatic coercion, and even interfering in Taiwan's election next year. But if that fails, then I think the military option is absolutely on the table within the next 5 years, Maria. I mean, there are things happening in China that aren't to the Chinese Communist Party's benefit domestically, economically, and demographically that I think is going to cause them to accelerate. At the same time, the United States military is entering a dip as it tries to modernize and recover, and there is a sweet spot there. And oh, by the way, economically, they believe we're going to go insolvent in many of our entitlement and other programs right around the same time. So it is a period of maximum danger, and I keep ringing the alarm bell. I know you do too. We need to step up economically. We need to cut off capital, bring our supply chains home, have a Reagan-style defense buildup, and arm Taiwan to the teeth. And it's a race against time.
Well, it certainly is becoming clearer and clearer. We've been talking about this for several years, and the CCP is only getting more aggressive. Congressman, we'll keep a spotlight on it. Good to see you this morning, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.